I would like to announce the presentation of colors carried out by the New Lenox American Legion Post 1977 and the New Lenox Veterans Foreign Wars Post 9545 Color Guards. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the Celtic Piper Corps of Providence Catholic High School from New Lenox, Illinois. The first song selection this morning will be Scotland the Brave. Good morning. My name is Pastor Jim McGuire. I'm one of the chaplains with Joliet Area Community Hospice, and it is a great honor for me, both personally and professionally, to be here. Our work in the community, of course, is well known, but also as a resident of New Lenox, it gives me a great pride in our village and the way that we always honor those who serve. I want to welcome you to the 2019 Patriot Day Remembrance and Recognition Day ceremony. Today we are here to mark the 18th anniversary of September 11th, 2001 terrorist attack upon America. On behalf of the 2019 ShareFest Will County Steering Committee, I would like to welcome you to our 9/11 observance program. Let us, before the singing of the national anthem, let us together offer our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, please remain standing. I'd like to invite Emily Johnson now to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, their bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. At this time, I would like to introduce a number of our honored guests here this morning. When I call your name out, would you please give an acknowledgement of your presence with us this morning? First of all, members of the New Lenox E. Harding American Legion Post 1977. Members of the New Lenox Harry E. Anderson Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 9545. Illinois State Representative Margot McDermott. Will County Board Member Reverend Herb Brooks Jr. Director of ShareFest, Will County, Gary Cheney. Mayor of the Village of New Lenox, Tim Balderman. Elected officials and employees of the Village of New Lenox. Supervisor of the New Lenox Township, Mike Hickey. Elected officials and employees of New Lenox Township. I would like to, at this moment, give special recognition to Kathy Johnson, also at the New Lenox Township, the work at her food pantry, but also all the work she does to make this event come to pass. Thank you, Kathy, for your work. From the New Lenox Fire Protection District, Deputy Chief Dan Turner. From the New Lenox Fire Protection District, Fire Chief Adam Regal. Members of the New Lenox Fire Protection District, Chief Robert Stroba of the New Lenox Police Department. Deputy Chief Lou Alessandrini of the New Lenox Police Department. Commander Hillary Davis of the New Lenox Police Department. Will County Police Deputy Chief Dan Jungles, Investigation Special Services Division. Will County Sheriff Police Deputy Chief Jeremy Venduna. Chief Executive Officer of the New Lenox Chamber of Commerce, Emily Johnson. And the Providence Catholic High School Celtic Piper Corps. At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Balderman to offer some reflections this morning.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. I look out, and this is probably our largest crowd at this event. It's great to see so many people out here. Thank you for being here in New Lenox, the home of proud Americans. It has been 18 years, and I remember serving as the chief of police on that day and the events that followed. I remember watching, like all of us did, the aftermath of those horrific terrorist attacks, not only on our nation, but our way of life, our freedom that we care so much for. It's at this time that I want to say thank you to our military, those who in active service, those veterans that we have and their families for the sacrifices that they make to defend our freedoms and our way of life here and abroad. So thank you to our members of the VFW, the American Legion, all of our veterans and their families for all the service that they give our great nation. I say thank you to our first responders, our police officers and our firefighters who never know what will happen from day to day, but they're willing to sacrifice so much, not only time away from their families, but knowing that they may not make it home. But they're willing to do that because they care deeply about their profession. On this day of remembrance, it is also a day of giving. And to our ShareFest committee and everyone involved with ShareFest, thank you for keeping that tradition going and making sure that right here in New Lenox and beyond throughout Will County, that we remember that we should give something back. We have a great country here. We've got so many great things afforded us, but to be able to give to those that are less fortunate is truly important. And finally, as I've said before on this day, and I'll take the opportunity to say it again, as horrible as that event was, the silver lining was that we came together as a nation, that we didn't care about our political party affiliation, we didn't care about rich or poor, we cared about each other as Americans. And in this day and age, with all of the vile rhetoric, all of the politics, all of the talking heads. We have to try and put that out of our minds and remember at our very core that we are Americans, we are proud, we should take care of each other because we're decent human beings, and we should set that example for the rest of the world. So I'm honored to be here and speak before all of you today, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve as your mayor and to be with you out here. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Assistant Deputy Chief of the New Lenox Fire Protection District, Dan Turner.
Thank you, Jim. We can all remember where we were the morning of September 11th. I know myself, I was driving and I heard some horrifying news on the radio, and I called my wife, told her to turn on the TV. That was a horrifying day for all of us and our American history. We lost many American lives, but the resiliency of our country still lives on. As compassionate people, we mourn the loss of our fellow Americans. We must never forget. As a nation, we have always risen from adversity, whether it be war, terrorism, or natural disasters. Let's remember those who we've lost and also celebrate as life continues on. As Americans, we continue to make a better, stronger America for those who follow us. In remembrance of our fellow Americans, I encourage you all to share a feeling of pride in what it means to be an American. Remember your values. Appreciate the little things. Hold a door for someone. Wish someone a good day. Help your neighbor out. Help the elderly load their groceries into the car at the grocery store. So before we leave here today, let's take a moment and reflect on everything that's changed since September 11th and honor the victims and those who selfishly sacrificed by committing ourselves to our family, our community, and our country. That's what makes America great. God bless.
Thank you, Dan. At this time, I would like to introduce Commander Hillary Davis from the New Lenox Police Department.
Good morning. It is a great honor and my sincere privilege to speak with you today about such a tragic day in our American history. September 11, 2001 was one of the most horrific days that we as Americans have ever faced. The shock and horror of it all is still so vivid in my mind, as I'm sure it is yours too. On so many levels, an attack of this magnitude had never been executed on civilians of the United States. On that day, in total, 2,974 people were killed and over 6,000 people wounded. Though a significant number of those were military personnel and first responders who chose to run towards the danger in an effort to save lives, the vast majority were citizens just going about their day. 18 years later, as we look back, it seems to me that the most compelling part of this attack was that it felt like an attack not just on our cities or on our buildings, but it was an attack on the very values that we as a country hold most dear, the things that we honor in our lives as Americans. As a country, we value the opportunity to put in a hard day's work, to get up every morning and focus our energies and attentions on doing that which supports our families, allows us to enjoy our leisure time, and facilitates our pursuit of the American dream. Every single one of those folks who were lost that terrible day woke up that morning, kissed their loved ones goodbye, possibly grabbed a cup of coffee or a quick bite to eat, made their way into work, and were just trying to do their part to further what we value. As a country, we value the freedom to move about our days in relative safety and security, to make our way to and from our homes, our businesses, our leisure pursuits, whether it be by air or on the ground, without the fear of violence and destruction looming in the background. All those heroic citizens that boarded those planes that day, they were exercising that freedom, only to have that freedom viciously eliminated, forever altering not just their lives, but generations of lives who are intimately affected by their untimely loss. As a country, we value the sanctity of our government and the democracy for which it stands. On that day, the attack on our Pentagon was a visceral attack on our government and the people who chose to dedicate their lives to stand and deliver for it. Finally, as a country, our greatest value, the commodity that we hold most dear and is revered beyond all others, is our people, our humanity, our most precious resource. Our citizens are our most beloved assets, and we place the highest value possible on their rights, their principles, their well-being, their health, their families. In this barbaric attack on September 11th, ultimately, it was a direct attack on all of us, of our rights, of our principles, our health, our families, and the American spirit itself. So although this attack was intended to break our spirit and our patriotism, it did not achieve this goal. In fact, it only proved to further our resolve to strengthen our cities and our communities. It further renewed our commitment to our American values and spirit that we treasure so wholeheartedly. So as we take this time to remember the events of that horrible day, let us not forget the most important part, the people and the American spirit we hold so dear. Let their loss not be in vain, but a reminder of the values we hold most dear and strive to live up to every day. Let us be renewed in our vigor to uphold these values and these principles and never waver in our efforts to keep them our priority as citizens of this great country. God bless the victims of September 11th. God bless you and your families, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Hillary. So this morning, as a nation, as a community, we remember. What are we remembering this morning? We remember that on the morning of September 11th, 2001, 4 passenger jet airliners were hijacked by 19 men belonging to the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda. Remember, those 4 passenger jets were crashed purposely into the World Trade Center Twin Towers in New York City, the Pentagon building in Arlington, Virginia, and a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. We remember on that tragic day the nearly 3,000 men, women, and children from over 60 different nations, all of different races and religions, were murdered by a coordinated terrorist attack led by Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. We remember now 18 long years after 2001, that attack, we remember that the death toll continues to grow as law enforcement officers, firefighters, first responders, recovery and construction workers, volunteers, and the men, women, and children who lived in close proximity to the World Trade Center continue to succumb to the terrible aftermath of that day. The following year, on September 4th, 2002, President George Bush proclaimed that September 11th of each year will be observed as Patriot Day, a national day of service and remembrance, and that's why we gather. It is our way of preserving the memory of those who were murdered on that day in the name of hate and intolerance. President Bush ordered that the flag of the United States be flown at half-staff and that a moment of silence be observed to correspond with the attack, the first one being at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Time. We will have a moment of silence here in just a moment, and as we do, we will remember the victims of September 11th. We will remember those whose lives were taken from us. We will remember their families who continue to mourn even to this day. We will remember in this moment of silence the thousands more who were injured and whose injury continues to be realized. We will remember those who have died. The aftermath for their illness was caused by the toxic contaminants in the air. The hundreds of fire and law enforcement officers. In the moment of silence, we will remember the hundreds of construction workers and recovery workers, volunteers and relief agency members who were there at Ground Zero, who gave their time and many of their life not knowing the harm's way that they were in. In our moment of silence, we will remember the 2,400 military troops stationed in Afghanistan who have died as a result of September 11th, 2001. In the moment of silence, we will remember the 20,000 military troops who have been wounded as a result of September 11th, and who even this day live with that injury. Today, in our moment of silence, we as a grateful nation and as a dedicated community, we remember. Let us take this moment.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
If you have a program this morning, I would invite you at this time to read along with me the words of faith, the call for all of us to look after one another. The sacred script declares, "For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." And then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it for one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it for me. So this morning, we take time to honor and remember the victims of 9/11/2001 by working to make not only this nation, but all nations a better place. We give ourselves to help one another who are in need. We hold on to the belief that America holds within her the truth that regardless of race, religion, or station in life, we all share common aspirations, which include to live in peace and security, to take care of our families, provide an education, and to work with dignity, to love our families, to love our communities, and to love our God. These aspirations are common to all of us this morning. This is the hope of all humanity. As we conclude our program this morning, we will have a gun salute and the playing of taps. A final blessing upon our time. Let us keep the spirit of this memorial service with us each and every day. Let us strive to live at peace with all nations as we work for peace within our own nation. Our prayers remain with all who work within the public sector, of which many are here today. We pray that you will serve with integrity, with compassion, and with a collaborative spirit, each member of our community. Let us remain steadfast in our resolve to live in a free and vibrant country, for we are one nation under God, indivisible. Thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to remember and to reflect. We as a nation made a promise that we would never forget. Our coming together today is one way in which we as a nation are keeping our promise. Once again, thank you for joining us in this day of remembrance and service.